That's a lot of work for you to do by yourself. Sure you can handle it?
Apparently not, judging by today's debacle. My funds are still...
I know. It's okay. Don't worry, I'll figure it out. What's a few bucks when you're trying to change the world, right?
To changing the world.
Yes. We will.
To changing the world indeed, or in the case of this video, the wonderful world of video games. But regardless, welcome back true believers and all you PlayStation players out there to another very interesting video. And on a technical level, I can also say welcome back to all you spectacular Spidey fans, since this does directly pertain to Marvel's Spider-Man 2 and the overall future that it might entail. Primarily, we recently received some very exciting information from PlayStation themselves and a rather massive investment that they have conducted with all of their major first-party studios, as well as all the games that they are currently developing, and more importantly, the games that they will continue to develop down the line. And if you have absolutely no idea what I'm talking about, it was recently reported by IGN that PlayStation is putting $300 million more into first-party games. Considering how well the majority of Sony's first-party titles tend to do whenever a new one releases, both in terms of financial profit and critical reception, it obviously makes sense that Sony would want to prioritize those first-party titles amongst all their other ventures. But to properly put things into a better perspective, I do want to read off of this IGN article, which thoroughly breaks down everything that you need to know about this recent investment from Sony. And as IGN goes on to analyze, is that Sony is investing a further $300 million into its first-party PlayStation studios as a two-pronged strategy to grow its gaming business, alongside releasing games on quote-unquote multiple platforms. Revealed in its latest earnings call, Sony made clear this investment is for developing software at existing studios, such as God of War's Santa Monica studio or Horizon Forbidden West Guerrilla Games, and is separate to its acquisition plans. And coming directly from the earnings call transcript itself, Sony went on to state, "We plan to increase software development expenses aimed at strengthening first-party software at our existing studios by approximately 40 billion yen, or for the case of the US, $308 million. Going forward, we aim to grow the game business by strengthening our first-party software and deploying that software on multiple platforms." Now, even though Sony didn't directly go into what exact platforms they meant, it likely refers to the joint PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 releases of certain games like Spider-Man Miles Morales, and even incoming games like God of War Ragnarok, which, in case you don't know, is confirmed to be a cross-generation game. In addition to its recent venture into releasing PlayStation console exclusives like Horizon Zero Dawn and the original God of War in 2018 on PC. However, Sony added that in addition to acquiring studios such as Bungie and Haven in recent years, we have significantly increased our investment in content development in our existing studios. As a result, our first-party software development has increased at a high rate. So as you might have been able to tell within that section of the article, is that the main term that Sony continuously brought up is just how proud they are of their quote-unquote first-party software, which all of the main developers underneath the PlayStation Studios publisher banner have access to. And if you're someone who's been following my channel for the longest time now, you know that one of those developers is none other than Insomniac Games. So simply knowing the fact that Sony is going to be investing even more money within each of their individual first-party developers within their PlayStation Studios lineup, so that way they can create even bigger and better games down the line, including the games that we already know about from all these developers, just reiterates exactly how devoted Sony is to delivering the best quality of games within their PlayStation platforms. Even coming from me personally, my current game of the year of 2022 is Horizon Forbidden West, which was in fact a PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 exclusive. And knowing that even more extremely exciting first-party Sony games are on the way from all these developers like Marvel's Spider-Man 2, God of War Ragnarok, Marvel's Wolverine, and even the unknown Insomniac multiplayer game, it surely is a great time to be a fan of all of PlayStation's games. Or in this case, it does seem more appropriate to say that you should be excited only if you have a PlayStation 5, which is the main console that the majority of these games are going to be releasing on. But luckily, for those of you out there who may not yet own a PlayStation 5, considering that they are pretty darn hard to get your hands on even nowadays in 2022, it does seem like one of Sony's main priorities priorities is trying to get even more PlayStation 5 consoles out there in the general market for more fans to enjoy. Now, in another recent financial report from Sony, it was highlighted that the PlayStation 5 has now currently sold 19.3 million units worldwide, but it did fall short of its original fiscal year 2021 sales target by 3.3 million units. Now, despite the dip, Sony still expects to sell even more units of the PlayStation 5 than ever before in next year of 2023. Sony originally forecasted selling 14.8 million units of PS5 hardware in its second year on the market, but Sony revealed in its latest financial earnings results that it instead sold 11.5 million units. This matches the late adjustment that Sony made before the conclusion of the 2021 and 2022 financial year, which lowered PS5 sales expectations to 11.5 million. And as you might have expected, is that Sony ended up putting down the underperformance results to an ongoing difficulty in obtaining hardware components after global shortages caused by the pandemic. And while this last bit of information might not be generally considered as good news, it does have a silver lining in the grand scheme of things. Because as it was recently reported by Sony's chief financial officer Hiroki Totoki, and yes, that is his real name, said in the earnings webcast that this is quote-unquote a number based on our current visibility into parts procurement, sadly meaning that the company is still expecting component shortages to be an issue over the next year. Although it should still be easier for consumers to get a PS5 than the previous 2 years. However, as a target of 18 million is significantly higher than its sales for year 1, which was 7.8 million, and year 2, which was 11.5 million, Sony is remaining confident that it will hit this higher number, which hopefully means that more gamers will be able to get their hands on a PS5 sometime soon. Especially considering some of the major games like God of War Ragnarok, which even though is a PS4 game as well as a PS5 game, the majority of players are wanting to play that title on their brand new next-gen consoles. And that definitely goes double for games like Marvel's Spider-Man 2 and Marvel's Wolverine, which were full-on PlayStation 5 exclusives. So if you're unfortunately not able to acquire a PlayStation 5 by the time this year is over, there is a likely chance that you might be able to acquire a PS5 in an easier fashion sometime next year in 2023, which, as I discussed at the very beginning of this video, is essential if you want to experience what the future of gaming will entail for all of PlayStation's first-party developers. In my eyes, nothing makes me happier than to see the overall realm of gaming thrive and prosper into the greater beyond of future titles releasing in years to come. Especially considering how excited the majority of people are for all these first-party Sony games, it's without a doubt going to be an absolute blast to see how all these amazing titles perform on the brand new next-gen console, and what the developers have up their sleeve after they release these games, considering the new amount of money that Sony is pouring in for them to acquire even more resources to make these games even bigger and better than even imaginable. And I for one just can't wait to see what PlayStation has in store. But with all that said, everybody, that is the video that I have for you today, and please let me know all your thoughts in the comments section down below. What are your thoughts on Sony investing around $300 million into all of their first-party developers and first-party games, both regarding games that we already know have been announced, as well as games that will be developed in the far future? To relate things back to what my channel primarily covers is that Spider-Man PS4, which did release in 2018, was fully developed when Insomniac Games was in fact a third-party studio making a first-party game, and at that point was not completely owned by Sony Interactive Entertainment just yet. So considering that Marvel's Spider-Man 2 is a PlayStation 5 exclusive, which is being developed for that console from the ground up, and Insomniac is currently owned by Sony Interactive Entertainment underneath the PlayStation Studios banner, alongside of them receiving even more resources due to this latest investment from Sony, is without a doubt going to make both Marvel's Spider-Man 2 and Marvel's Wolverine, as well as their currently unknown multiplayer game, hopefully some of the most refined and well-polished games that we'll ever see on the PlayStation 5 platform. And by the time we end up seeing footage of all those games in action, it's truly going to be a sight to behold. But with all that said, true believers, thank you all so much for watching. Leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you did enjoy, and for more PlayStation videos like this in the future. And without further ado, peace out.